Let's talk about red flags in investment. How can you spot red flags? So I want to share with you my personal experience when I was going through one of the investment options myself and how I spotted red flags in that investment option. So this was an investment option that was offering a high double-digit return in income every year. And I was going through that option because maybe it would be interesting for me to invest in it and perhaps also for my clients. And also my clients were asking me, hey Simon, have you seen this investment? What are your thoughts on this? So here's the first red flag that I spotted. When I was going through their brochure and their track record, they mentioned that they were 15 years in business. But in reality, this investment was only a couple of years old. But somehow they counted their own business experience as a track record for this typical investment as well, which is a red flag because you should separate those two. Another red flag that I spotted was that they were talking about all these great returns, but how were they able to pay those great returns? So I started to look at the business model. They were very fake about it. They just said, yeah, we make money, we do some trades, XYZ. But how do you do that? How are you able to consistently make so much money that you can pay out this income to investors and pay your overhead and your fancy office, etc.? So there was no fundamental how they will make this money themselves and what their business model was. There was no transparency on that either. So that is also a red flag. Their marketing was also showing that they were using very famous people, they were spending a lot of money, and for me that was also a red flag because that means there was a lot of cost there to do that. And to acquire clients comes down from the business model again. It goes back to that. How are they able to sustain these kind of costs? And they were not transparent about that cost, about their business model in the first place, how they're able to pay all these costs. Then they were talking about guarantees. They said we are guaranteed, but they were not explaining about where the guarantee comes from, how strong the guarantee is, which assets are there to provide that guarantee. This is one of the biggest red flags that I saw. And then the regulators were mentioned, that it was regulated, but the regulators don't have, in this jurisdiction where they were saying that they were regulated from, a good track record internationally for recovering funds if things went wrong. So if the investors did not get the money back, they need to go to the regulator. But if the regulator doesn't have a long track record for recovering other previously bad investments that were supposedly regulated in that jurisdiction, then that is a concern going forward. Their sales team was also very aggressive towards the customer because clients of mine were telling me that when they dealt with them, their follow-up was very aggressive and they were pushing them to make quick decisions. Now, I also managed to get from different sources, from people inside of the company that told me that this was not a good investment to make. So imagine people in the company itself warned other people to not invest in their company. That was also a major red flag. So these are all red flags that I experienced just with one investment. And typically you don't find so many red flags for investments when you go through them. Imagine finding so many red flags. So if you see red flags, be aware of that. Listen to your gut feeling, do your research, and walk away from investments where you have too many red flags that don't add up. My name is Simon Snouter. Goodbye.